sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Is there fear among official circles that AI, could be used in a harmful way ahead of our elections?
There's a possibility. We've not discussed it at that level, whether there's a fear for it. That is why the ministry, we are now prepared. We are now building a platform, an AI platform, to help counter these threats where they occur. It can happen. We've seen it happen in other countries. We cannot sit by and, we have to understand the threats around us. And AI is an opportunity, but also it can be a threat, particularly where misinformation and disinformation is concerned. And as a government, we are taking this very seriously. We've seen the trend. We need to be prepared. We cannot sit until something happens. And that is why we are coming up with these platforms, with AI-powered platforms, to deal with these threats where they occur.
Fantastic. Let's go back
to...
But
with the issue of human rights, I made a statement here, and people fact-checked it.
And found it to be true or false?
I don't know. But what I said was, and I still stand by it, no Gambian has been jailed in this country. Sorry, no journalist has been jailed in this country for doing his or her job.
Oh, okay. So that's the statement that some people have a problem.
I have a problem with that. No, jailed means somebody who's, because of the virtue of the fact that he's doing his job as a journalist, is arrested, prosecuted, and jailed, and sent to Mile 2. Since President Barrow came to power, no journalist has been jailed in this country. I think that's a huge, huge difference compared to 10, 15 years ago, where journalists were either arbitrarily arrested, or forcefully disappeared, or jailed, or tortured. That was the norm in this country. And I think journalists as a tribe was one of the most victimized tribes.
As my case.
Or dismissed, as in your case. But since President Barrow came to power, I've never seen a freer media in any country I've traveled to, even in the first world.
Even in the first world?
Yeah, of course. Than the Gambia.
Oh.
Yeah, of course.
We have more freedoms than the UK.
Insofar as the media is...
in the UK.
Of course. Today, really? in the UK today, there are certain statements you make online, they go get you. And that's a fact. Oh. There are certain statements you make online which are seen to be threats to public safety and security or whatever, they'll deal with it.
Yeah, but the same thing would happen here.
No, but here sometimes...
Come on, it would be irresponsible of the government, if somebody, were to make statements that are harmful to the peace and stability of this country, and they do nothing about it.
But sometimes we've seen clear cases, even though recently I saw a video where someone threatened to poison me, and the president, and Mr. Sidinjai and Ahmad Ba. A video went viral, and he said that if he has the opportunity, he will poison me for me to die, and the president and Sidinjai and Ahmad Ba. I understand they went to arrest him, and he evaded the police, but I think his family
so at least
the
government, was responsible enough to go after the person. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. But sometimes I've also seen situations where people really, they exaggerate things, and it's very difficult sometimes where the fine line.
Nobody would exaggerate. Nobody would arrest someone in the UK for just exaggerating.
No, what I'm saying in the Gambia, not exaggerating. In the first world today, at least.
The UK is part of the first world.
Exactly. Even in the UK, yeah. People cannot just say things like that and go to sleep. Here, Gambia today, people say things and go to sleep.
Your favorite country, for comparison, is the US. What about the US? Could you get away with such thing in the US?
Can we go to the next question?
No. Okay, let me bring you reaction from the public. On Senegal under Senghor was not a classic one-party state, but a one-party dominant system, marked by restricted competition. Elections were but they operated within a one-party dominant political system, significantly limited competition. It was after he handed over to Abdou Diouf in 1980 that a more vibrant multi-party system emerged.
So that
so
makes
it was
sense.
not a de facto one-party
so
state.
that's why I said that only 3 countries were practicing expansive multi-party democracy. And this was this is the Gambia, Mauritius, and Botswana.
Okay.
And this was because if you read the history of African politics, post-independence African politics, these countries have been mentioned as the 3 countries that were at a time when most countries were either going to dictate military rule or one party rule. These 3 countries were praised for that. So I thank the writer for really enlightening us.
You're thanking the writer?
Yeah, the texter.
I'll tell you who he is.
Is it Madi Jabate?
It is Madi.
Well, thank you, Madi. Thank you.
Madi, your man knows you very well. Let's move on to the next one. Pocha, donors did not hold back during the Jammeh era. You know, we spoke about how funding was withheld because donors, while Jammeh was in office, had issues with his human rights record. The writer continues, look at all his projects and infrastructure development. They were all donor funded. Yes, Western donors criticized his regime, but the EU and US continue to support him. He expanded his donor circle to Taiwan, Middle East, and all the way to South America, such as Venezuela and Cuba. Absolutely.
No. I think that was a period, and someone can correct me. And please, Madi, please help me with this. If you are listening.
By the way, that's Madi again.
Yes.
That's
No.
Still.
No, but there was a period when the EU withdrew some support.
Definitely,
particularly in line with Jammeh's policy on
gays and
homosexuals. Exactly. So obviously there was a period when donor funding was curtailed at some point, and I think I can remember that clearly. But now the manner in which now the support is given now with the World Bank, the IMF, the EU, all these projects happening in all the different sectors, that's never happened before. It has never happened under Jammeh.
Let me do the last comment from Madi. This one you won't like. What the minister is doing is to criminalize the media in order to justify draconian measures. Our media laws are draconian and undemocratic, which need changing since 2017, but the government has not been interested. Misinformation and disinformation are coming largely from the government. NHRC survey showed that hate speech is perpetrated mainly by political leaders and their supporters. And in this menace, the NPP and its regime supporters and allies, including Ismaila Ceesay, are the major perpetrators.
Well, that is an opinion. But that is an opinion. Again, like I said, it's not based on fact. It's Madi's opinion. And when Madi said that, the survey is saying that by political leaders, not all political leaders are in government. As far as I can confirm, I've not seen any government official engaging in misinformation, disinformation, or hate speech. I have not seen it in the Gambia. Maybe Madi is living in a different Gambia. But nonetheless, what I can tell you is that these laws that you are talking about, these so-called draconian laws, well, we can have a debate about them. There are people who think they're important to safeguard society. There are those who think...
So you don't believe the president of the GPU, when she said at that dinner where you were, and I wasn't, that they need, the draconian laws in the Constitution to be removed?
Yeah, but what I can tell you is that, for me, I don't believe in draconian laws. What are those laws? And exactly what I want to know the specific laws. And we can have a debate about those laws and why they exist and why we should, if we are to reform them, what should replace them. I'm not saying that there are some laws are not, but what I'm saying is that people cannot just run away with terms and we accept it as fact. Draconian laws. What are those laws? Why are they? What are those laws? Why are they considered draconian? We want to know that. But we cannot, as a government, we believe that the media should operate, but in a responsible environment. We cannot accept a media that has no checks and balances and no accountability. No country does that. Now, if you consider some laws
you don't trust the GPU to provide those checks and balances. I mean, you don't think much about the
GPU doesn't have those powers. They don't have those powers.
Empower them. How can't you work with them to empower them?
But the GPU is an association of media houses journalists. It's a union. The Media Council doesn't have those powers. What I can tell you is that as a government, our responsibility is to protect the dignity of every Gambian.
I agree.
So
now you
but also our responsibility is to ensure peace and stability reigns in this country.
So now you have two institutions that are working with journalists. One aims to bring all of them together, which is the GPU.
But not even all are there.
Which is a good platform. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Work with the GPU, empower the GPU in such a way that you cannot operate in this country without being a member of the GPU.
That's what I'm saying.
Empower the Media Council
to
now control, or rather, control may be the wrong word. Control can be...
regulate.
Can be, to regulate the sector, all right? At least monitor content to make sure that content doesn't disrupt the peace and stability of the country.
Like I said, I'm not dismissing that. What I'm saying is very simple. There are laws that were put in place to regulate the media. Fine. Some people think they are draconian. I want to know exactly what those laws are. I'm coming. Why do you consider these laws as draconian? What can we do as a society to reform these laws so that we replace them with laws that are fit for the 21st century? But we cannot also just remove laws like that and leave a vacuum where there is no accountability or responsibility.
We'll invite Isatou Keita, the current president of the GPU, to come and discuss those draconian laws.
We're having discussions with them. As a minister, we're working with the GPU.
So they are yet to identify those draconian laws to you?
There are a few that they've identified. But again, like I said, I can't remember exactly the specific one.
So you were questioning the existence of draconian laws when they've been identified to you in private?
I'm not saying they don't exist. I said there are laws. I said who determines whether they are draconian or not? It's a term anybody can use.
The people they affect. The media.
Yeah, but
the journalists.
Yeah, but
and the president of the Journalists Association, when she had the opportunity to address the president of the Republic, made the case for those draconian laws
what I'm saying, Peter, is very simple. We have a media, a GPU, who think these laws are draconian. And I, as a Minister of Information, don't think that I think these are laws that are necessary.
You're saying it's all perception.
What we need to do now is to sit and look at these laws and see how we can reform them if we think they're in the public interest. Everybody has a public interest. Now, many people just run away with the words draconian. You don't even know why they call them draconian.
Luckily, my next guest is more than competent to discuss some of these draconian laws. Demba Ali Jawo, D.A. Jawo,
like I said, people can label laws or whatever the manner in which they want to. You can call it draconian. As far as I'm concerned, these are laws that were put in place to safeguard the public interest. If we think as a society now, those laws are not fit for purpose anymore, we don't just abolish them, we reform them and put in place laws that are fit for purpose. That's what I'm arguing. So you cannot just come and tell me, remove all these laws, and then there are no safeguards whatsoever in the media sector, and then the media is free to operate without any accountability.
Nobody's suggesting that. That's
what I'm saying.
That's why there's a GPU. The GPU is not just there to enroll Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, Peter Gomez, Martin Yanga, Rohi Ceesay as members of the GPU. It's also to talk to them about the ethics of the trade.
To talk to them, but not to enforce the law. The GPU cannot enforce the law. They don't have
can
the regulatory
empower the
powers.
Media Council. No, they can't do anything. It's very dangerous to concentrate, powers, in one entity. So that's why you have the Media Council of the Gambia. Let it be, adequately and properly empowered.
Now you are saying what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if we think these laws now as a society are not fit for purpose anymore, one of the ways in which we can reform it is to now empower the Media Council to. So that's why I said there should be a discussion. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that these laws should be there. What I'm saying is that
you kept saying the law should be reformed and blah,
that's
blah,
what I'm
blah,
saying.
blah,
To be reformed, what I don't agree with the GPU, and I've made this very clear, this is the fundamental difference between me and them, is that we cannot just abolish laws like that. No. We need to have a discussion about these laws.
But those discussions you say are going on.
That's what I'm saying. We are discussing with them as to, yes, law X currently is not fit for purpose. But how do we replace it so that the safeguards they were meant to provide are still there? That's my question. And one of the safeguards could be a solution. That is, empower the Media Council, establish them through an act of parliament, give them regulatory powers, and they can, maybe perhaps one of the solutions. Yeah. What I don't agree with is that people want to run with abolish draconian laws just like that. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. Okay. We are not going to do that.
All right, that's what I like about Dr. Ceesay. You can never predict what the subject matter will be week in, week out. Last week, suddenly it became Brufut is like Dubai. This week, it's about, the media laws. Let's move on. Hi, Peter. I think this should start with themselves. Calling someone vulture, for example, is not a language that should come from a public figure. I think we should be mindful of the language we use always in capital.
Which public figure calls someone a vulture?
Well, he named him. I just didn't want to.
No, what I'm saying is that let me know which public figure who is in public office has called someone a vulture.
Is an advisor to the president not a public figure?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, is an advisor to the president not a public figure?
It's supposed to be a public figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An advisor to the president allegedly, called someone a vulture.
Well, this is a term that we should not encourage. If it did happen, I'm not sure if it happened. I've not seen it. But I don't think nobody should be calling anybody a vulture.
Okay. Madi is citing, Information and Communication Act, Criminal Offences Act, Official Secrets Act, Newspaper Act. In all these acts, apparently, you have draconian laws.
Madi calls them draconian. I call them safeguard laws that try to make sure the media operates within a very within the bounds that is accepted. You can call it draconian. That's his term for calling them draconian. They have the right to call them draconian. I call them safeguards.
You travel a lot as part of your work, I suppose, including in Africa. How does the media in the Gambia compare to other countries in terms of responsibility? Knowing what to say, and, especially if it's sensitive, knowing how to couch it in civil language.
Well, I think I commend the Gambian media.
Well done.
Really, to be honest. What I've seen in other countries, our media, yes, we like to sensationalize sometimes, but I've not seen our media engaging in certain acts, really, to be honest, that really are seen to be promoting hate speech, for example, or undermining peace and security. You can disagree with them. They can write things that sometimes you believe that maybe the headlines can be, misleading or stuff like that do happen. But by and large, we don't have a media sector which is vitriolic, which is also toxic. I've not seen that. So for that, I commend the media. But yes, let's come back to these laws. People think there are laws which are not fit for the 21st century, that are not fit for a democratic society. We can debate this and replace them with laws that are fit for democracy. What I don't agree with is to abolish laws and not replace them with anything.
Oh no, nobody's telling you to.
But in fact, that is what they are saying. That is what people GPU? Like and Madi. That is what they want. Just Madi wants to create Madi is an anarchist.
Hello.
Of course, he's an anarchist. Madi doesn't believe
Dr.
in.
Ceesay.
You know who's an anarchist? By definition, is someone who doesn't believe in authority. It's as simple as that. For Madi, there shouldn't be any law. For Madi, there should be no government. He's an anarchist. He doesn't believe in authority. If you want me to remove all these laws, you calling the president in Bindan, Chief Bindan, you don't believe in, or you don't respect authority. You're an anarchist.
Is that what's driving you to call him an anarchist?
He's an anarchist. An anarchist is someone who doesn't believe in authority. We have anarchist is an ideology. If you understand the anarchist ideology, these are people who doesn't believe in authority. They don't believe that there should be authority in society. They don't believe in hierarchy of authority.
Okay.
They want to abolish it. And people like Madi wants that. That is why he's fighting for us to abolish laws that are safeguards and that make sure.
How does he stand to benefit from abolishing laws and just leaving the media?
But that is, that is Madi. That is how he is. That is how, people have different worldviews. And people's worldviews are shaped by their experiences, but also their education, but also different things. Now, there are people whose worldview, for example, they believe in. We have the people who believe in. You have fascists who believe in a very strong, powerful state, everything for the state, nothing against the state. That's their worldview. People who are liberal, people who think that people have a right to do whatever they want to do as long as they don't encroach on the rights of others. There are people who are conservative. That's their worldview. People are born in the same household, coming from the same womb, and they hold different worldviews. One of them can be realist. Okay. Some are liberal. So Mahdi, the way he writes, the way he thinks, the things he says, for me, ideologically speaking, is an anarchist.
Let's move on. Good afternoon, Mr. Gomez and Honorable Ceesay. In my opinion, the best information minister, hands down. Honorable, now he's addressing you. How do you plan to address the rising cost of living and ensure affordable access to basic necessities like food, healthcare, and education? And with debt service accounting for 30% of the budget, what strategies are in place to reduce debt vulnerabilities and prioritize productive investments? What measures are in place to ensure transparency in public spending, particularly with regard to infrastructure projects and debt management? How will the government address corruption allegations and ensure accountability for public officials?
Wow.
This is coming from ML in Nairobi.
This is a loaded question.
This is a loaded question.
But I think it's a very important question because it touched on some of the things we are doing right. In fact, rising cost of living. The cost of living is not rising as we speak. It has stabilized, and the data is there. Nobody can tell me that if you go today to the market. You cannot tell me that if you go to the market today, if you buy a bag of rice or potatoes or onions at 1, tomorrow if you go it's 2, day after it's 3, after it's 4. That is rising. There's a sustained increment in the price. So that is not happening. Today,
that is not happening anymore.
No,
there was a time
today.
when that was the order.
There was. But through government policies and interventions, we've made sure that we've stabilized the prices. I'm not saying that it has drastically gone down to pre-COVID levels. No. What I'm saying is that it has stabilized now to the extent that I've not had many complaints in country about the high cost of living.
Oh no, we're still complaining that the cost of living is high.
No, but it's everywhere, obviously.
You're saying the rate
the rising, sorry,
yes,
the rising
exactly,
cost of living. Now, so it means that currently as we speak, we've stabilized the prices. He said access. Gambia is one of those countries, in fact, that has so much access to basic food commodities. There's no scarcity in the Gambia. There is no single commodity today.
Let's qualify that. He said affordable access.
Yeah, but affordable is subjective. It is relative. What can be affordable to
I'm
you?
just qualifying the word.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, okay, not access. Okay,
yes.
So today, Gambia there is no scarcity in the Gambia. There is no product, medicine,
there hasn't
food.
been scarcity for a very long time.
Exactly.
In this country.
That alone, we
Except
normally.
for the case of cement occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally, but these things happen. For the Gambia today, everything because this is all about good policies. We don't experience scarcity in this country because of good monetary and
just
fiscal,
to put it into context, you're emphasizing that because you might have countries where they have the money, but what to spend it on isn't available.
Yes. So basically what I can say is that prices have stabilized. Prices have really stabilized in the past. Today, a bag of rice, you can get it for $1,800, $1,900. Prices are not increasing. When we say higher rise, it means it's on a sustained period increasing. Now, when it comes to the issue of transparency or the issue of fighting corruption, we've seen today public officials are dragged in court for corruption. We've passed the anti-corruption law. We've established the commission. We have brought laws, the access to information law, to promote more transparency, to know how your government is spent. Today you can write to the Ministry of Works and ask them questions about how they are spending money on roads.
I'm sure Mahdi would want to contest that. Mahdi has written to virtually every, public agency, and mostly nothing has come back.
No, I mean, there are every law, every request has procedures. If you don't follow those procedures, you wouldn't get the desired outcome.
Mahdi. Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice.
I mean, can you reframe, please? Edward Francis Small Individual for Rights and Justice. It's an individual.
There's no such institution.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is that a center means it has an office, it has staff, it has computers, it has a server, it has a website. This is someone who is an individual who just created something and calls it a center, and he's the only one you see. He's the only one who writes. I've not seen any website. I've not seen an office. I've not seen any staff. I've not seen anything. Every day, all he does is write, and he calls it a center. I think that's it. That is disingenuous. That is deception. Pure and simple. You're deceiving society of the existence of something that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So Mahdi should really have a self-check and then rename his institution as the Edward Francis whatever individual for rights and justice. So coming back to the issue about
you spoke about debt vulnerabilities. What strategies are in place to reduce debt vulnerabilities and prioritize productive investment?
The data tells us that the Gambia is doing well in managing its debt portfolio. Our debt to GDP ratio has gone down to almost 68%, and the threshold normally is at 70%. Many countries today, if you look at Gambia has one of the lowest debt portfolios in the continent, and also we are managing our debts properly. We are able to pay our debts without putting too much distress on our public finances. Yes, we are paying almost, I think he said 30%. I'm not sure if that is the right figure, but we're able to pay our debts and still having a vibrant economy and still having a next to almost a balanced budget. Normally, countries that are debt burdened have a big hole in their fund, a big deficit, because we're not having that. Many countries today, in the UK, in the US, in Japan, their debt to GDP is over 100%. We are at least less than 70%. It means we are managing our debt properly, and we are seen as a responsible debtor. And what is this whole thing about debts? We now today, our policy is to engage in what they call cheap borrowing, concessions, that we invest in roads. But these are good investments, and they have serious return on investment.
Okay. So that addresses the question of prioritizing
we don't have a debt issue.
Productive investments.
We don't have a debt issue, because Gambia is not having, we don't have a debt distress at the moment as a country. We're able to pay our debts. We're not taking more than we're able to pay. We don't have a big hole in our public finances. We don't have a huge budget deficit where we are struggling to make money. We are currently almost, I think, over 60% of our annual budget is domestically, from domestic revenue sources. So we are doing well in our finances. I mean, this IMF, the World Bank has really praised the Gambia for the manner in which we are our public finances.
A fellow journalist has provided
Have we answered all the questions?
We've dealt with most of them. Because we are already into somebody else's time. Good morning, Uncle Peter. Please tell Dr. Ceesay that draconian laws include the criminal code, which creates the following offenses. Seditious intention makes criminal a host of behavior based on a publication which is deemed to insult the president or cause ethnic conflict or simply cause one to dislike the government. Publishing false news is based on the criterion of causing fear or alarm, which in themselves are subjective. The Newspaper Amendment Act of 2004 is based on a 1944 colonial law which creates an exorbitant fee for registration and setting up a newspaper. In 1996, Decree 70 and 71 increased it by 100%. The 2004 amendment raised it to $500,000, up from $100,000. Official Secrets Act makes an offense of any publication which the government deems to be breaching national security. Public Order Act empowers the Minister of Interior to determine which publication is fit for public consumption or jeopardize public security.
These are very good safeguards. These are very good. These are not draconian. No. You could argue. No, I'm coming, Peter. I'm coming. Allow me, please.
Go ahead.
If you tell me that some can argue, because we can debate on these things, because what your view can be on these things can be from my view. We live in a free democratic society. Everybody has his own views. Now, if you tell me that some people can think that these laws are not fit for purpose in a democratic society, we can debate that and see how we can reform them to make them fit for purpose, so that they are not subject to abuse. The only problem here is that some of them, some can argue, are subject to abuse. They can be exposed to abuse by people who has a vested interest. We can argue that. Now, how do we make them better? How do we reform them? But they are not draconian laws. These laws are safeguards. They are very good safeguards.
Just for publishing something that is deemed to cause the public to dislike the government, and you punish something for that?
I've not seen the exact wording.
So, for instance,
no. What I'm saying, I'm not sure that is the way it is worded in the law. I need to see that, so I cannot comment on that.
Okay.
Because that wording itself is problematic.
Can we make this the subject of the next program?
We
where
can
we
do
come
that.
and talk about the draconian laws.
I don't agree with the word draconian. Some of these laws, you don't have to use the word. They are not draconian. These are good safeguards to provide stability and security.
Can we have
in
the next program on these safeguards?
We can look at we can look at these laws, and we can debate these laws, and any law that we think can be subject to abuse by an individual who has an invested interest. We can put extra safeguards to prevent those abuses. Because one of the next read the second one, where the Minister of Interior. No, the one on the Minister of Interior.
Yeah, that's the last one.
What did it say?
The Official Secrets Act makes an offense of any publication which the government deems to be breaching national security.
Okay, let's stop there.
And Public Order Act, that's the Minister of Interior. The Public Order Act empowers the minister to determine which publication is fit for public consumption.
When this law but in this law, ideally speaking, we would think that the government or the Minister of Interior would be acting in good faith. Now, the fear here is that I'm coming, Peter. The fear here is that because if a minister takes an oath of office and swears to execute his duties without fear or favor, in line with the rule of law, would expect that minister not to abuse his powers for his vested interest to violate that law, to do things that are against that law. So what we are saying is that these laws were promulgated with the thinking that, ideally speaking, the minister will act in good faith and in the public's interest. Now, there are fears. There are fears from some quarters, the GPU, MADI, others, that it can be abused by a minister who has vested interest. Now, what can we do now to make sure that that window of abuse is closed so that the law is a safeguard yet cannot be abused? That should be the debate.
So the law still has a place in a democratic Gambia?
The law has a place in democratic Gambia because any publication that undermines national security should not be accepted. Pure and simple. We have a country to build, a country to secure. Any publication that undermines national security, who will accept that in any country? So now what you can tell me is that the law, the spirit of the law is good, the intention is good. The problem is it can be abused by someone who has a vested interest. How now can we stop that abuse? That should be the debate, and those are the reforms I'm talking about.
So next week we will talk about these safeguards, as you call them.
Brilliant.
All right. Dr. Ceesay, thank you very much for your time, as always.
sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances, not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.